So it's interesting that in pre-literate societies, the spirits of the dead were in the trees, in the environment. Now with visual space coming in, with writing and the later forms of writing, the dead are fragmented out and put underneath the houses. They're boxed. The dead are boxed, whereas they're all in the environment in Aboriginal culture. So here they're saying the dead were placed underneath, but animism is still happening because they're feeding the ghosts. But the ghosts now have a room underneath the house. So there's the visual split, fragmentation of a dynamic, previously dynamic animistic environment. That's interesting. And then the dead are going to become, with the printing press, the dead are going to become the realm of hell or purgatory. They didn't have that massive visual box since Dante, before Dante. In these societies, the dead were active but underneath. So that's an effect of visual space. It's interesting how most of these societies are all going through the same thing. You got the Chinese societies, you got the Assyrian, you got the Egyptian, you got the Babylonian. These massive time-based societies are being shaken up by the effect of writing, which is bringing in individual religious leaders like the Buddha and Confucius. So we're seeing this is a museum of, this part, the antiquities, is of the dramatic transition era. The diminishing of the ear, moving into the eye, is what's common throughout the rooms we've seen. And Babylon is different because they're beginning to get closer to the phonetic effect of Greece. And then you really get a difference in Athens. I mean, that's where philosophy and ideas and classical education starts. They didn't have that kind of education in Assyria. Unless I'm wrong. Could be wrong.
And there was this education based in the quadrivium. Which is four.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning how the four became so important and also represented by four animals.
Right, so you have the quadrivium is music, math, astronomy, and arithmetic. So it's number that's more musical. The quadrivium is, like fourness, is part of the previous acoustic societies of frequency awareness. The full alphabetic effect emphasizes the trivium, rhetoric, grammar, and dialectic. And those are more dealing with categories and after the effect of Greece. So the trivium and quadrivium are important from the time of Athens, 300, 500 BC, up to the printing press. So anyways, there's other details between the time of Dante and the time of Shakespeare, which Ion has provided, which are really interesting. And then there's, in McLuhan's writings, there was a early Renaissance at the time of Petrarch in Italy, supposedly around 1200 AD, before the famous Renaissance in Italy in 1440, 1480. So you had two Renaissances. So the first Renaissance is sometimes mentioned revolving around Abelard and Heloise, and they brought in dialectics. So dialectics had a heyday until the time of Shakespeare. Then Shakespeare, dealing with the effect of the printing press, retrieved a more holistic interplay. And rhetoric and grammar came back, and that's why the Renaissance was such a period of theater and poetry. It wasn't so much 300 years before, the time of Abelard and Heloise, and the nominalists took over, which can be called dialectics. So this is part of McLuhan's PhD, showing the ups and downs of dialectic, ups and downs of rhetoric and grammar, and the kind of arts that come out of those periods. So at the time of Shakespeare, the printing press is coming in, and there's a flowering of late medieval balanced sensibility, emphasizing the interplay of dialectics, rhetoric, and grammar, and that is sloughed off by the time of the Calvinist religious Puritan Reformation, and then the time of Newton, which moves science into a dominant role, and dialectics takes over, suppresses rhetoric and grammar.
We lose our spirit. Is it because we no longer need to breathe?
Correct. That's correct. Very good. That's not been said before, Bob.
We're moving toward non-physical, which has no spirit, I am?
Correct.
There's a new one for you, people. Bob did it again. Said the unsayable. Moving to non-physical means that you give up spirit. Animals are non-physical. They don't have spirit. And we're moving to non-physical, dropping the physical, so we're moving to non-spirit. What's that mean?
The definition of physical is of or relating to the body as distinguished from the mind or spirit. Beasts are non-physical. They don't have a spirit. Well, that's challenging because there's soon going to be no physical.
Perfect statement. I said perfect statement.
Yeah, I always thought a spirit was non-physical and physical is body, basically.
Well, but they're not. Because, see, there's the trouble. Because, see, now, then you're going to bring the soul into it. You're going to say the soul is the spirit. And the soul is just the stenographer that's keeping up with it.
Right.
So now if you're going to go all that way around the mountain, that's perfectly fine. So now we would like you to give us a definition of spirit.
Okay,
Is it the mind, Ion?
It's the essence of who we are. It's the everlasting, the thing that never dies. It's what I got out of this, or what we may have got out of this. Spirit is breath.
Yes.
Okay, and then not
Spiritus.
physical.
Spiritus. Latin. Spiritus.
Spiritus. Okay, and then physical is of or relating to the body?
Oh, spiritus is non-corporeal.
Non-corporeal. Okay, and then physical is, but physical is relating to the body.
Corporeal. Material body.
And we're gonna soon be giving up the physical, and that.
And the soul overlaps both.
Overlap what?
Both. Overlaps both.
But I thought the soul had no role.
It doesn't, but it overlaps the both.
The soul is
It's the stenographer.
So then the non-physical is, you were saying it's spirit.
Yeah, like Holy Spirit.
And that's different from spiritus or breath?
Not always.
Spirit is breath?
Yes.
Okay, and then not
It's
physical?
Spiritus. Latin. Spiritus.
Spiritus. Okay, and then physical is of or relating to the body?
Oh, spiritus is non-corporeal.
Non-corporeal. Okay, and then physical is, but physical is relating to the body.
Corporeal. Material body.
And we're gonna soon be giving up the physical, and that.
And the soul overlaps both.
Overlap what?
Both. Overlaps both.
But I thought the soul had no role.
It doesn't, but it overlaps the both.
The soul is
It's the stenographer.
So then the non-physical is, you were saying it's spirit.
Yeah, like Holy Spirit.
And that's different from spiritus or breath?
Not always.
We're moving toward non-physical, which has no spirit, I am?
Correct.